Now, your forecast first from KARK4, your weather authority.
Another beautiful autumn day all across Arkansas today, but we're going to start to see some changes tonight. Becoming cloudy, showers and thunderstorms likely by midnight, turning blustery and much colder for your Thursday. In fact, as much as 20 to 25 degrees colder. We'll have all the forecast details, but first, KARK4 News at 6 starts now.
Tonight, in custody, after police last month made a gruesome discovery in Saline County, deputies make a second arrest in the case. Plus, workers this afternoon at a Little Rock bank robbed at gunpoint. One worker slapped in the face with a pistol. Tonight, the latest as police ask for your help to nab the suspect. And Arkansas's economy on the minds of many. Straight ahead, what a state economic forecaster has to say about Arkansas's future and your bottom line.
Now, from the station you count on. In-depth investigative coverage of today's biggest stories. This is KARK4 News at 6 in high definition.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Bob Clausen.
And I'm Jessica Dean.
Tonight, another arrest in the murders of two men killed and buried in the Saline County backyard. 53-year-old Jay Beeson faced a judge today for charges of kidnapping and murder in the death of Randall Anderson from Mableville. But it's not Beeson's first brush with the law. KARK4's Adam Rodriguez in court today. He is joining us now with new information in this case. Adam, what did you find out?
Well, Bob, we talked to representatives from the Arkansas Department of Correction and Federal Prison Bureau. They both say Beeson has actually spent some time behind bars. He was again in court this afternoon. The judge denied his request for bond. He's actually the second person charged in the murder of Randall Anderson. Investigators found Anderson's body last month, buried in the backyard of that Traskwood home, along with the body of Jolie Richards Jr. In 1991, Beeson was convicted of second-degree murder and at that time spent 4 years in prison. And then just last year, he spent another year in federal prison for a felony firearms possession charge. Neighbors were surprised when we told them about the arrest today and say Beeson was a guy who pretty much kept to himself.
I don't know. It's awful.
I've just seen them outside once or twice, you know. I've seen their dogs. Caught their dog once and took it back to them, but besides that, it just kind of stayed away from them.
And you'll remember last month we talked about how Marissa Wright was charged after they found the bodies with the murders of the two people. But they won't say in this case how Beeson was involved in Anderson's slaying. So maybe just wait for those details still to come out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you were saying this is the third person that's been arrested, but do they anticipate more arrests?
Right, and I asked the sheriff about that today, and you know, as one of the victim's parents said, they knew at least 5 people were in the room when the son was killed, and only 3 have been arrested. So you got to think maybe there's more people out there. The sheriff says he's not sure, but they're still investigating. So
yeah, there's a lot of information they probably can't share at this particular point.
Right, and they don't want to prejudice their investigation or maybe tip somebody off.
Sure.
So it could be that's what they say. We'll just wait and see.
All right, Adam, thanks very much.
You bet.
Tonight, Little Rock police are asking for your help to nab a man they say held up a bank this afternoon, hitting one of the tellers in the face with a pistol. It happened around 2 today at the Regions Bank on North Fillmore Street. Police tell KARK that the man you see right here walked in, pulled a gun, jumped the counter and demanded money. According to authorities, he also hit a worker in the face with the butt of his gun. Investigators believe this could be the same man that robbed a bank in a nearby area earlier this week. If you have any information or know who this person is, you are asked to call police. Some people in Faulkner County don't know whether to drink that water or not. Many of them now complaining, and County Judge Preston Scroggin is listening. The USGS is testing water in that county for possible contamination from shale drilling and dumping. KARK4's Bakari Savage traveled to that area today just north of Greenbrier. He has this report.
Well, to me, a little oily substance looking, but now when you went to touch it, it didn't really feel that way.
Water that looks different and has an odor.
Maybe a little smell, last 8 or 9 months.
Is the reason why the United States Geological Survey team is testing well water in Faulkner County. They're in the backyard of Verna Higgins. She and her family have lived here for 20 years. She says the gas company moved in 3 years ago, and they've noticed changes, and so have the neighbors.
It's a little nerve-wracking, to say the least, but I think the Faulkner County is doing the right thing by having it tested.
This testing costs $25,000 and will address the complaints of people living in Faulkner County. Once Josh and Tyler are done collecting all these samples, they're going to be sent off to researchers at Duke University. It's going to take about 2 to 3 months for them to get those results back. But in the meantime, if they notice anything that looks out of place in this readout right here, they'll let you know. This comes after similar testing was done in Van Buren County. The official results won't be released until the beginning of next year. But Tim Christie with the USGS says those numbers look okay.
Van Buren County, for instance, our highest chloride concentration was 70 milligrams per liter. Historically, it can be as high as 200 to 300 milligrams per liter.
So far, what they're seeing in Faulkner County hasn't been too far off from those readings, but that doesn't mean every water source is okay. It's expensive to test every personal well and pretty much the responsibility of the homeowner.
In a sense, they also don't have anybody looking out for that water.
So essentially, it's the homeowner's problem.
In a sense, it is. It really is.
Cressy says that in order to do the type of testing necessary to say that every single source of water is okay, it's going to cost $1 million, and that's just in Faulkner County. Bakari Savage, KARK 4 News.
Bakari, thanks very much. Today, the United States Geological Survey released information detailing what exactly happened last year at the Albert Pike Campground. That flash flood there killed 20 people, all of which never heard the warnings or the rising water. KARK4's Chief Meteorologist Keith Monahan joining us now in the Weather Center. And Keith, you know, we know the stories about what happened. We can try to piece together because of all the wreckage and debris left behind. But these numbers, man, they paint a brutal picture.
Really a brutal picture, Bob. And an incredible amount of water over a very short amount of time. A very, very fast flash flood is what occurred out there at Albert Pike. This catastrophic flood in the upper Little Missouri River at the Albert Pike Campground etched into the memory of all Arkansans. The torrential rains and subsequent flooding took the lives of 20 people and resulted in substantial property damage both at the campground and surrounding areas of the Ouachita National Forest. And the timing of the flood couldn't have been worse. It was 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. All the residents and campers were asleep. They didn't hear warnings or they couldn't receive warnings, and that was really the big problem. The speed with which the flooding occurred surprised even long-term residents of the area. The whole flooding event from start to finish lasting only about 2 hours. It'll be something that'll be remembered for a very long time. Now, here are some of the numbers. First of all, where is Albert Pike Campground? It's located west of the Hot Springs area in west central Arkansas in the southern Ouachita National Forest. And some of the numbers are incredible. The amount of rain that fell, 4.7 inches falling in about 3 hours. Over the course of a 4-hour period, about 5.5 inches of rain fell. How much water came down that river? At one point, at the height of the flood, 40,000 cubic feet per second. That's 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot cube. 40,000 of those moving down the river at any one point through the campground, and that's about a quarter of a second of what falls over Niagara Falls every second, every day. How fast was the water going? Nobody could have stood up. 11 feet per second, and the river rose rapidly, giving people little warning. 6 feet rise in 5 minutes. Certainly something that will be etched, as I said, into the memory of all Arkansans, and let's hope we learn some lessons and get those warnings out to folks that are in the outer parts of the campgrounds, and they could at least get some safety procedures in place to keep themselves safe when they're camping by waterways.
One thing you mentioned, Keith, a weather radio.
That's right, a portable weather radio. Take them. I know there were some reports that the tower was not working, but that's your best bet when you're camping, is have one of those portable weather radios, and then you're up to the minute with the latest warnings.
Always be aware of your surroundings and the conditions, Keith.
That's right.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
To northwest Arkansas now, as another white powder scare happens there, forcing the evacuation of an elementary school. It happened at Northside Elementary at around lunchtime. According to police, a teacher opened a letter she received in the school's mail, white powder spilling out. The principal called 911 and ordered an immediate evacuation to the park next door. An investigator with the Benton County Sheriff's Office says this is the 15th suspicious letter sent in the last 3 weeks in Salem Springs alone. So they believe it's one person or group that's responsible.
Looking at the state economy now, one of the top economists in the state said today he's cautiously optimistic about Arkansas's economy.
We're going to continue to see slow but steady growth, and unfortunately that's going to mean that employment growth is going to be rather sketchy.
Michael Packo said we've seen some economic slowdown, and while the recovery has not faltered, the slowdown is pronounced here in Arkansas. Still, he said a double-dip recession unlikely. Instead, he predicted slow but steady growth over the next couple of years. Well, if you're looking for a job in this economy, here's an event you should know about. The Arkansas Department of Workforce Services is holding its annual job fair tomorrow at Verizon Arena.
The volume of veterans coming back from overseas and having to transition back into the workforce, you know, some of them are having to transition from military to back to civilian work. And some of that's just updating your resume and getting it, you know, more tailored toward a civilian employer.
The fair will be held from 10 to 4, and job seekers can get help with their resume, receive skills training, or browse the booths of 140 businesses all looking to hire. For more information, head over to arkansasmatters.com.
Make note of this. The emergency alert system will soon be activated nationwide. The Arkansas Department of Emergency Management wants you to be aware of that. It's going to happen November 9th at 1 p.m. It's going to be the first test of this kind ever, and it's going to last for up to 3.5 minutes. Keep in mind, this is just going to be a test. No reason to be alarmed, but make note, it's going to happen. The Nina and the Pinta, not sure where the Santa Maria is. These ships sailed the ocean blue. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at two incredible replicas of the real thing. They are here in Central Arkansas.
I'm Carrie O'Hara. The start of the college basketball season is fast approaching. Today, head hog Mike Anderson sat down with the media. We're going to hear from him about how the team is coming together. Plus, for 2 weeks, Peyton Hillis has been watching the Browns from the sideline. We'll have the latest on the Conway native's hamstring injury and when he could be back on the field.
And did you like the weather today? Mid-70s for highs after starting in the low to mid-40s. You're not going to like the weather tomorrow. The forecast is coming up.
You're watching KARK 4 News at 6 with Bob Clausen, Jessica Dean, Chief Meteorologist Keith Monahan, and Sports with Carrie O'Hara.